Why were you being annoying while I was trying to shoot my YouTube video? Yeah, you were being really annoying. Why? Did you want attention? Okay, you have my attention now. Hi y'all, welcome back to my channel. Today's topic today's topic is inspired by actually two YouTubers that I happen to enjoy. It's Dr. Mike and Gabby Hanna. And if anybody doesn't know who they are, I don't know where you've been, but Gabby Hanna's been around for a while, and Dr. Mike is a medical doctor, and he talks all about physical health, and you know he also does like a doctor's watch type series where he examines stuff like Grey's Anatomy and House and things like that, and makes comments about things being how realistic they are and things of that nature. So it showed up on my news feed. I guess that's what you call it in YouTube land. Showed up on my feed this video where the two of them were talking about mental health. As a licensed therapist, this caught my eye because I feel like a lot of people are talking a lot about mental health, and I think it's amazing. I really like when people who are influencers or who are famous talk about their own mental health struggles, because I think that when we look on social media, we look on daytime TV or whatever, and we see famous people, they look like they have these fabulous lives, and and when they talk about their own struggles, it's more, it humanizes them. And you can see kind of that we all have our own struggles, no matter what we do. As I was watching the video, I found myself getting all up in a tizzy. And I don't know if it's just kind of the protectiveness I have over my clients in general or over the field, which I feel like mental health, like therapists, we don't get enough credit for what we do. People often kind of delegitimize us. So I don't know if that was like part of the reason I found myself all up in a tizzy. But and let me just be clear, like I really do enjoy both Dr. Mike and Gabby Hanna. I think Gabby Hanna is hilarious, and I really like what she does, and I love Dr. Mike's sensitivity and his knowledge as a doctor, and I think both of them are great. So it's not a critique on them personally, or even the conversation, because I think the conversation is a good conversation to have. I think I personally would prefer it as, if they both want to have a conversation about mental health, that they actually talk to people who do this every day, i.e. therapists, licensed therapists, not people who are coaches. No offense to coaches. Coaches are amazing, but coaches are not there. They cannot treat mental health. That's not their job. That's not their role. They cannot do it. So licensed therapists, licensed social workers, and listen to me mentioning like the licensed piece. You must be licensed, just like a doctor is licensed, a dentist is licensed. You must go to somebody who's licensed, because that means we've taken courses, we've done the right amount of study, and we've passed exams, right? So there's somebody watching us, and we have to continue with our education. It's not like, oh, we just, we're licensed and it's there forever. Like we have to continue our education, and we have to make sure we're staying up to date on the latest research and techniques, and we renew our licenses every year. So it's very legitimate. So for me, I don't know if it's just when I was having a sensitive day. I don't know. Whatever it was, I found myself in a tizzy. Some of it was just, again, he was using some outdated terms like repressed feelings, repressed emotions. Nobody I know talks like that. I also don't work with, I know maybe one or two people who come from like a psychodynamic perspective of treatment, which is more Freud's territory. So you would use some of those techniques, but I see trauma. I work with trauma clients who have experienced trauma, and I don't never use that phrase in my entire history of doing therapy. I've never heard anybody else use it. So I don't really like that term. It's very outdated. I also, and I know this as a therapist, I know this because I've worked with doctors and psychiatrists, and I have clients who, work with psychiatrists, that they only spend about 15 minutes with their patients. 15 minutes is nothing. Sorry, no offense. I know that's what you guys as doctors have to do. So again, I think for me, the reason I was in a big old tizzy was not necessarily because he used outdated terms or, my frustration with doctors only spending 15 minutes with clients, but it's just mainly that I feel like mental health is not made a priority at all in any society. People act like it's a luxury or it's insignificant, or, especially in marginalized communities, oh, it's for white people or it's for rich people. Like there's all these things, and people just don't take mental health serious enough. And in fact, a lot of people's physical symptoms are actually manifestations of mental health issues. So if you look at something like major depression, person will often feel fatigue. They'll have sore muscles, headaches, or you have anxiety or anxiety disorders, and you get a lot of chronic pain. You get some headaches. You get neck pains. You get joint pains. These are all the physical symptoms you see. And then I think about my clients who have PTSD or complex PTSD, and they have a lot of pain in their back, in their neck, in their pelvic region, in their stomach. And chronic illnesses in general, we're talking about fibromyalgia and, you're talking about fibromyalgia and chronic fatigue syndrome. Again, a lot of these have basis in childhood trauma. So you go into your doctor's office and you're saying, oh, I've got my neck's been hurting. And they rule out, oh, what about stress? Are you doing, A, B, C, D, E? They rule out all this stuff. They give you some meds. You go along your way. And what I liked in the video, actually, he did mention that, he'll kind of get a good history with his clients when he can. And, what he notices is that sometimes clients will come and they'll have their back pain or their neck pain relieved, and then they'll show up again with pain in another region. And that's because a lot of the physical pain is a manifestation, again, of the mental health disorders. So I feel like doctors definitely need to work more in tandem with us therapists. And like, I'm a part of a bunch of therapist groups, and I know so many therapists who go and reach out to doctors, and doctors don't have the time, and it's not their fault. But at the same time, like, it needs to be made more of a priority where doctors and therapists work more closely together, because our clients, the first stop usually is their doctor. And if the doctor doesn't know, hey, pelvic region, if you have somebody who's coming in with chronic pelvic pain and you've ruled out any physical symptoms, and, they don't have endometriosis or anything like that, well, maybe it's a manifestation of being sexually abused as a child, right? Like, these are real issues that clients experience. And I know I know for people, there's a lot of misconceptions about therapy, and that's one of the reasons that they kind of push against it and rally against taking care of themselves. Some of it has to do with people believing that it makes them weak, or if I go to therapy, it just means that, like, I can't deal with my problems, and that's not true, right? Having somebody help you kind of figure out what's going on, what's keeping you stuck in life, because really the problem is getting into these patterns that are self-sabotaging and self-destructive, that don't leave you happy or fulfilled, but actually make you feel worse about yourself. And so going to therapy is a way of trying to work that out and breaking out of that pattern, right? Bring some awareness to your behaviors, and then breaking those negative patterns. And it's not just sitting around talking and talking. I mean, I hear people say this all the time. Well, why don't you just talk to a friend? Or why don't you just talk to a family? Well, therapy's more than talking. I know on television, in the media, a lot of what we're seeing is somebody laying on a couch and they're just talking, and a therapist is like taking notes and not saying anything. And for some, maybe that's their experience of therapy. I'm not going to say that that doesn't exist, but there's different types of therapists. We all have different types of styles, different types of modalities that we work with. There's therapists like myself who are, because we do a lot of work with trauma and we understand the brain and the body's connection in trauma, we incorporate more sensory, more somatic kind of, you're talking about your physical presence, your physical body, somatic techniques into therapy. So you're talking about dance, yoga, other sensory techniques with, like sand tray with kids. I will use what's called therapy with my clients. And I mean, since I have it out, this one is, see, they all have different textures. What is red? Red is soft. So like, it's very squishy. And actually this stuff was usually, or was like originally used for people, in like physical therapy, but it works really well for clients who have trauma, who are fidgety, right? And not just for those folks with ADHD, but a lot of times anxiety will make you really fidgety. And so having something to do with your hands so that you're not like tapping or, doing those things that can be kind of socially inappropriate or obnoxious, is really helpful. When I was working in my agency life, we did a lot of work with like the NMT and understanding the brain and the body's connection. And we would all be sitting there during staff meetings or trainings with, our therapy or like hard candy or what do you call, oh, they're like these tangible, hold on, are with like these tangle things, which seems so childlike. But again, if you're sitting in a boring meeting and you're trying to focus your attention on what somebody's saying, having something to do with your hands is really, really helpful, right? So that's one. I'm a smell person, so like I always have hand sanitizer, or I put lotion on, which if people have allergies is a little bit obnoxious, but that's something that like keeps me calm and keeps me focused. Again, there's so many ways that you can work in therapy, and it's not just sitting there talking. So that's kind of why I busted out with those, just to kind of show you. And again, I adults do play with things like this. Kids, teens, it's not weird. Like I said, I used to sit in staff meetings with a bunch of grown-ups, all of us in our 20s all the way to our 50s, and we were like messing with these things to stay focused, and it's good. So that's an example of like a sensory technique that you can use to help stay regulated while doing something that isn't so enjoyable. Again, talking to your friends, talking to your family, it's not the same as therapy. We notice that you might start doing something, start making changes, and then you fall back into old patterns and old behaviors, things that are self-sabotaging or destructive, and then you go back to your friend and they kind of give you the same pep talk, or they, maybe get on you for making that mistake again. In therapy is that we go deeper to look at those patterns that drive those behaviors and why you're having a hard time changing, even though you want to. And you start to kind of understand like what's underneath these behaviors, and you look at your feelings. And it's a lot of fear. A lot of times, what keeps us from changing is fear. It's anxiety. And even though what you're doing is not the best, the fact that you're trying to shift and go into the unknown spurs on anxiety. And that's what triggers the stress response system, and that kicks in, and it's like, nope, nope, that's a threat. That novelty thing over there is a threat. So we're going to shut down all the cognitive piece up here. That's the part that's telling you, no, I want to do this new thing. And you're kind of going to like your brain stem and your limbic, and you just freak out and start going back to old behaviors. I mean, that's literally what we figure out in therapy, is how to stop that pattern, how to notice those triggers and intercede in the moment. Your friends don't know how to do that because they didn't go to school for it. No offense to your friends, they're wonderful people and I'm sure they help you, but they didn't get any training on this. So that's the difference between going to your friend and going to therapy. So anyway, I kind of went on a bunch of different rants. I feel like I was a little bit all over the place, but again, I saw the video, got really, really huffy, got myself in a tizzy, and felt like I needed to mention and talk about mental health, because it's something that's really important to me. I'm very passionate about it. I just feel like people are in pain, right? So many suicides every single day. People stuck in depression, stuck in toxic relationships, not knowing what to do, where to turn. And so I want all of that to end. And so if I see people talking about mental health and I feel like they're on the nose and they're right about it, I'm, high fiving them all the way. But if they're missing the mark in some type of way, or I feel like they're not, it's being minimized, I'm going to get a little bit huffy in it. Especially because people just throw around terms like bipolar and ADHD and OCD. And if you're somebody who's living with any severe mental health issue like that, it's not a joke, right? The number of people who come in feeling shame and feeling like something is wrong with them because people joke around about bipolar disorder, ADHD, it just contributes to the problem. And I just wish mental health was taken more serious, and people weren't so shamed, and it was just more of a priority in healthcare in general, and not brushed off to the side or made a mockery of, or people didn't feel weak because they come to therapy, when therapy does work and it really does help. I've seen it. I see it in my past clients. I see it in my current clients. Like it really does work, and it really does help. So that's kind of my all over the place video. Um, if you are somebody who's struggling with your mental health, please reach out. Please find a therapist. We're out there. You can send me an email. I will be glad to help you with a referral if you don't live in California. But I just want people to get help and not feel so stigmatized and shamed. So comment your reactions down below. I'm sure I will get some not nice comments, but that's okay. And I will see you guys on Sunday for the next video.